Good morning, YouTube. It's Kim from Rainbow Rock Lakers Farm, and I'm about to take you on a tour of my enormous vegetable garden. And somehow I have to flip this screen around, which is, not my area of expertise. So, little video editing, because you don't want to see my own bang trim and all my roots growing out from quarantine hair. Okay, so I had lots of people ask for updates on the enormous vegetable garden, because I've been hard at work installing some of these panels here. This is a long cattle panel here, which is like a galvanized wire that's really heavy duty, and there's a smaller section and then a longer section. And basically I had most of these panels already on my farm, keeping goats in, keeping goats out, keeping sheep in, keeping sheep out, keeping animals where they belong. So I had some extra panels, so I went ahead and repurpose that. They work amazingly well for supporting things like tomatoes, cucumbers, anything really that you need to have any kind of support or trellis for. And I've been hard at work covering up my unsightly cardboard, which is going to help a lot with weed control. So I have a few really nasty weeds here. I'm sure that everybody does. But in particular, I have Canadian thistle, which is a really hard weed to eradicate because the root is like 10 feet long and you can never get it all the way out of the ground, and it's just a total thug. So having the cardboard underneath the mulch, I think, will help cut down on weeding. And let's be honest, nobody likes pulling weeds. So here's this little update on these are my Walla Wallas. So I feel like they're doing great. They're totally vertical. They're getting big. When I say big, I mean, this part of the plant is thickened up, and I'm sure that the little bulb underneath there is starting to get big. These won't get ripe really or ready for, making a giant Walla Walla until much later in the summer. But the advantage of growing these is that you can use them like salad onions. So you could pull them now and cut them up just like you would a salad onion. Let's see what else I have to report. I have grass growing there, don't look at that. So the potatoes are popping up. So this is what a potato plant looks like. They're just dead easy to grow. I did have one, I think I planted a few that I had from Costco, and it didn't sprout, so there should have been one here. And I think I mentioned before that sometimes when you use potatoes, seed potatoes that come from a gardening store are meant to be planted. When you get them from a grocery store, they may sprout, but they've been inhibited with a fungicide that keeps them from sprouting. So it's hit and miss whether you can get those going in your actual garden. So these are my red onions that I planted from sets, so little teeny tiny bulbs going under the ground, and they're looking fabulous. And a little further down with this nice arched cattle panel. So this arch looked just like this, except I bent it into this shape and secured it to these T-posts. Now that is definitely a two-person job. I did it myself, and it's amazing I didn't get decapitated. I will admit there was a lot of cursing. And then I decorated it with cute fairy lights, because why wouldn't you? So let's see what else. I have, these are beets coming up in this row. These are weeds I haven't figured out what to do with. We have some parsnips, peas. So the birds did, I had some birds come in and just basically eat the pea right from the ground. So you see I had a row here and the birds ate these. So I'm not the kind of person who gets like super fussed when the animal eats my stuff. I planted plenty of peas, so there'll be some for me, some for birds, and we're all gonna share. So I have more beets down here, and I'm wondering, these were kind of slower to germinate in that bed down there, and I'm thinking that it's getting too much shade during the day, so I may have to rethink what goes there. I've got my water barrel. So this is a food grade barrel that I bought off some crazy guy on Craigslist. he sells them. I don't know. He also delivers them with like spent grain and stuff in it. So I usually fill this up with alpaca poop and make a big festering, seeping awesomeness of compost. And I'm planning on doing that again this year because alpaca poop is really good organic fertilizer. But I think this year I'm going to try, instead of just throwing the manure in here, I'm going to try putting it in a bag or an old pillowcase or something, tying it shut so that I don't have poop particulate in here because it clogged up my watering cans. So this long bed is in preparation for tomatoes. I have an embarrassing amount of tomatoes being started for me. I'm starting some myself, and those are all going to get lined up here, but I realize I have more tomatoes than will fit on this. This is about 40 some feet of trellising, so I put in an additional 48 feet of tomato bed. So these are some of the cool season stuff that I started. I have a lot of carrots growing in this bed, and carrots are really slow to germinate. They have to think about it before they decide to pop up out of the ground. But I do see, I interplanted them with radish, so I do see some little carrot sprouts coming up. And it's always a good idea to put radishes in your row because radishes germinate very quickly. They grow super fast. And they also have the advantage of breaking the ground when they emerge, and it makes it just a little easier, I think, for the carrots to pop through when they're ready. So that's what's going on in that bed. This bed, this huge bed here, is going to be for, I grow a lot of different types of squash. I do spaghetti squash, butternut squashes, lots of zucchini. No, I don't make zucchini bread, but my chickens love it. I have an embarrassing amount of chickens, and they love to eat zucchini, so I can never actually grow enough zucchini to keep them happy. I have lots going on in this bed. I have carrots coming up. I have French breakfast radish, which is an amazing radish. It doesn't even really taste like the radish that comes from the store. They're really, really good. I have some bok choy and some spinach also sprouting up in there. And then I have this huge, this festering nastiness is a bunch of old manure that I had. That's horse manure, goat manure, a little bit of sheep manure, and a bunch of spent hay. You can see that in there. And normally you wouldn't want to throw something that hot on the ground, especially if it hasn't cooked all the way, because this can sprout grass. Hay has seeds in it that will sprout grass. So it's like less than desirable, except that when I went to move this compost, it was so hot I couldn't touch it. So it was probably 140 degrees would be my guess. And I think that it may have even been hotter than that. I literally moved it in my tractor bucket, and I could feel the heat hitting me in the face from the bucket, and I'm driving the tractor. So it was that hot. Usually that will kill weed seeds. So I will pile some more compost on top of this, and this won't be ready for a little while because this is going to grow pumpkins, which are heavy feeders, so they like a lot of that manure ground, and they won't go in the ground until later. So I feel like by the time I get the pumpkins in here, most of this is going to be breaking down, and I'll build this up with a little more composted soil. And I did the same thing with this long row. The tomatoes won't be going in here for a while because even though our climate is fairly mild in the Pacific Northwest, tomatoes don't like to be cold at all. And if you plant them too early, you run the risk of either losing your plants or stunting their growth. So it may seem warm enough, but it's not. And there's no point in really putting your plants out if you're not going to give them the environment to really thrive. This, and this is kind of funny, this is a gabion wall. I've said the word gabion wall in the last 2 weeks so many times that I never want to say the word again. It's something we've been working on as a way to get a fairly inexpensive retaining wall for this area. It's been a learning curve, so I feel like the wall looks good from a distance, but maybe not like super close up. But then if you're really examining my wall, you probably don't have enough to do. So that's really the biggest update, I still need more cedar chips. Some people in my family commented that this looks like playground material. And I agree, it's not like the most beautiful thing in the world. But there is a big advantage to using cedar chips, and they do repel lots of different types of insects. And the sharpness of it will help, I think, with slug control. So in the Pacific Northwest, obviously it's a rainy climate. And we do struggle a lot with slugs, and slugs will come in and really just wipe out everything. So yes, I'm going to get some ducks. I don't know where I'm going to put the ducks yet, but I feel like I need some ducks for slug control. And I feel like ducks have nice big web feet and they don't dig like chickens do. So maybe that would be a fun thing to let loose in the garden, is a bunch of runner ducks. But that's a whole nother video. So anyways, hope you guys are all doing well and enjoying the little updates from the Enormous Vegetable Garden. And I will make another video when I have something else to kind of report. Right now everything's just sort of in little pots getting started, so even though we're having some nice days, we're not quite out of the woods yet in terms of cold weather. Thanks guys, hope you guys all have a great day. Bye.